Hi everybody, Ryan Ballengee with Golf News Net. It's good to have you here with us. We've got a review for you today. It's of a shoe, and we do a lot of reviews of Adidas product on this channel. I will say Adidas a lot because I'm American and that happens. But we're going to be reviewing the ZG23 golf shoes, the BOA version of them for you today. And a little bit of history on the ZGs before we get started. So 2 years ago, kind of in the middle of the pandemic, right, Adi came out with the ZG21s, and the idea behind the ZG21 was to be a differentiating shoe between their spikeless lines and maybe like something like the Tour 360, which is a heavier flagship tour style shoe. And they wanted to create something that was lightweight, so something that people who like hybrid shoes or spikeless shoes would want to wear, but also something that had spikes so that people like me who like to play in spikes, who maybe play competitively or just don't like the idea of slipping in spikeless shoes that happens more often for me, they wanted an option that didn't feel like you were wearing a pair of army boots. So they want something in between, and this is what they tried to address here. And there really aren't a lot of shoes quite like this one in the market. I will say Puma does a good job putting out shoes like this. I think FootJoy's kind of gotten into it a little bit, but that's happened a little bit more recently for FJ. And so the ZG23s are the next iteration of that ZG21 shoe. The idea is that this shoe doesn't weigh a whole lot, but offers as much traction as you need without maybe the weight that that some people don't like. So this is the BOA version of that shoe. So you'll see you've got two wings here, and they kind of work together as a system. So if you look on the inside of the shoe, they're overlapped, and then they work together as a single unit. And then you've got the BOA dial system right here. You pull it out, and then you loosen the flaps like this, and that pulls out the string. Then you push the dial in when you want to tighten, and you just turn it that way, and it tightens to fit your foot. And the folks at Adi have tried a number of different implementations with BOA. They are probably BOA's favorite client in the regard that they're willing to try out new ideas and technology to make a better closure system for these shoes. I have seen a similar style of these in other Adi shoes, other Tour 360 style shoes, and they do work well. These are a little bit more mesh looking. They're a little bit different in that regard. In the past, they've kind of looked more like faux leather, which the upper is synthetic leather made 50% of recycled materials. It's a nice texture to it. Looks classy, but is not leather. And they would have typically applied this same material to these flaps that kind of create the pressure that goes over the tongue's still there, and then puts it all together for the closure. This looks a little bit different. It's not, in my view, it is not distracting. It looks pretty much like a standard shoe, maybe a little bit fashion forward in that regard. You might be wondering, okay, well that's how the shoe fits, but how does it generate traction if it doesn't have a lot of weight to it? And the idea that Adi came up with were these wings on the sides. So these wings on the sides, they're 3D molded, 3D printed. 3D molded, I think. I don't think they're 3D printed. But they are attached here to the side, and they offer stability on the sides. So that way, when you move over the course of the golf swing, you don't just kind of flop out. And that happens on both sides, right? So you can create pronation here depending on how hard you swing, and the idea is that these stiffened parts will offer for you exactly what you need in terms of stability without adding too much weight while running it through the entire length of the shoe or creating something in the midsole that creates stability. They just do these side pieces, and it accomplishes the job really well. These are stable and very light golf shoes. When I was putting these back on for the shoot after playing them a number of times, I was reminded by how light they are. It's almost kind of jarring when you put them on. You start walking around like, am I actually wearing golf shoes? Am I wearing tennis shoes or flip-flops? I mean, it is that light. It is that stark of a contrast. Now, I tend to like a heavier shoe, and so I was skeptical about these when I first started using them in the 21 model. And I was skeptical about them because I thought, okay, well, how can a lightweight shoe generate traction? How can it offer stability? But the wing has been improved, in my opinion, from 21 to 23. I mean, 21 was good. 23 is better. And I like that. It feels a little bit more secure. I do like the BOA closure system. I'm glad that they make it available on these shoes. One criticism I will offer of this particular rendition of the BOA closure system, I have a bit of a wider foot and a foot that's a little bit steeper. in terms of how it kind of rolls up into the rest of my leg. So what happens with this shoe is I get to the tongue part and it lays almost like the tongue is not wide enough. And that's a little strange in my head, but then when you add the BOA closure system and you turn the dial down and it brings everything down toward your foot, it's totally secure. It's fine. But the first time I put them on, I was very concerned that I was going to just flop right out of the shoes. It doesn't happen. It's not like that. It's not loose. But that part is a little bit disconcerting at first. On the traction piece of this, we talked about stability. The traction piece is the traction with an X sole. So you have 6 spike ports, and then you have a bunch of traction elements in between. This is kind of the very standard for Adi these days and what they have developed using foot measurement, foot molding, all those different types of things, pressure point mats, to understand how golfers really put pressure on their feet in the golf swing, and this is what they've come up with for the optimal presentation of that. And then in the padding system, it's called Light Strike, and there's also something called Hybrid Light Strike. So the two pieces here, Light Strike Pro and Light Strike. So Light Strike's a little bit, I guess, less than Light Strike Pro, but both combined together, it's a very comfortable shoe, and that's in part because it's lightweight, but the comfort here is really, really nice. You also still need something a little bit firmer, so you're not going to get something like Boost or Ultra Boost, which gives a lot of energy back and is really kind of meant to offer a little extra to your step, a little spring in your step. This doesn't really do that as much. It's just comfortable, but it has to be a little bit firm, again, to offer some element of stability to it, because when the cushioning gives too much, it takes on too much energy, well, it absorbs some of it back coming through, which you become a little bit less stable in that regard. So this offers quality cushioning, good feel with a lightweight shoe, while at the same time not making you feel like you're wearing a pair of slippers out there on the golf course. There have been some people, I think, of BOA models that are critical of the 3 stripes being represented here on the inside. I like that. I'm not that worried about it. I mean, I like it. I'm fine with it. It doesn't bother me. Some people want just, good old-fashioned 3 stripes on the side, but there's not really room for that with the BOA closure system. I mean, I guess you could kind of, if you wanted, you can get a Sharpie and you can draw some in here if you'd like, but generally speaking, you don't have to worry about that. This is a really good shoe. I like this shoe quite a bit. It's $200 in the regular form with regular shoelaces, like traditional laces. This adds a little bit of money, like 20 bucks, depending on where you shop, what you're going to find. But the shoes fit pretty well. They are not especially wide, but they're definitely not narrow. I would say they fit true to size. If you're trying to make a comparison, the toe box has plenty of width to it, so it doesn't feel like you kind of get boxed in there too much. That happens to me with FootJoy shoes sometimes. No offense to FootJoy, they make a great shoe, but some of their shoes are a little bit too pointy at the forefoot. Plenty of room in the back, a nice heel area, comes up nice and high, really good padded area around where you put your foot in, nice little collar to it. That has become a nice development in golf shoes, that people have realized, hey, padding there is a good thing, and that has definitely taken hold. It's a solid looking shoe. It's available in 9 different colorways in the laced model, fewer options in the BOA model. Either way, it's a good looking shoe. If you're willing to pay the extra for the BOA, I would. If you don't want to do that, you're still going to get a good looking shoe. Functions very well, effectively the same, looks slightly different, right? But looks incredibly good and works really well out on the golf course. That's our review of the ZG23s. Let me know if you have a pair. Let me know what you think of them. I'd be happy to hear your thoughts about it. If you have any questions about this shoe or any other product that we review, hit me up on Twitter, Threads, or Instagram. I'm at Ryan Ballengee, and you can leave a comment, like the video, share the video. We'll be happy to get back to you with any questions, comments, thoughts you have on the product or our presentation. I'm Ryan Ballengee. Thanks for watching. We will see you next time.